All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off, and we can just allow people to join as they will. But thank you all for joining us. My name is Molly Ash, and I'm a program manager here with the Regional Consortium, helping to facilitate this conference on the back end. So I will be monitoring the chat or the questions. So please feel free to input anything you have in that, and I will make sure I monitor that with the presenters. So I'm not sure who's going to kick us off, but I turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Molly. I'm going to kick it off. Welcome to the College Students of Color, creating opportunity to transform their educational experience. I am Tonette Salter, and my colleague and also an advisory representative and a friend is Dr. Ajené Wilcoxson. Will be joining us today. And so very quickly, I'd like to go over our agenda very quickly today of what to expect. We're going to do a quick self-check-in, and you can add that into the chat. We will discuss the superpower of a counselor, and hopefully you will provide what you think the superpower of a counselor is. We'll provide you some data, and Dr. Wilcoxson will share a little bit and open up about the student couch discussions that we hosted last year, JSPAC did, on their educational experience. And that really is the substance of this particular session, is to listen to about a post recording for 25 minutes, and then we will collectively come back together after listening to answer and do some reflection on the discussion questions, and then a little bit of QA, and then 1 minute of marketing of the Joint Special Populations Advisory Committee. So again, I am honored to be in this space with you guys. Hopefully you had a wonderful holiday, and we have another holiday showing up. So a little bit of self-check-in. Please introduce yourself, your role, and your breakfast choice. And you have your breakfast choices: waffles, pancakes, donuts. Maybe you're not a breakfast person. Maybe it's tea, maybe it's coffee, it's a latte, a smoothie, or create your own kind of person. So I will begin and say, I've already introduced myself, but I am Tonette Salter. I like to be called Tony, and I'm a tea, latte, kind of banana kind of breakfast person. Next, love to hear.
I'll go next. So my name is Ajené Wilcoxson, and I like to have a lavender latte for breakfast.
Ooh, lavender latte, that sounds amazing.
It does.
So my name is Molly Ash, again, program manager with the Regional Consortium. And it really kind of depends on the day for me. On the weekend, I'm definitely more of an ABC girl, but typically I'm a protein shake in the morning.
Anyone else? Anyone else would like to chime in on their breakfast choice?
If you guys are too shy to speak up, you're welcome to put it in the chat.
Please. Well, I like that you're a lavender tea person. I am too. I didn't get specific, but I love all kinds of teas. But I also like a great coffee, an Irish coffee. Anyone in the chat, Molly?
Yes, so we've got Chris Carr, transition specialist with the East Region Adult Education. Definitely a morning and afternoon coffee person, for sure.
For sure.
I think we can agree with that.
Thank you, Chris.
And then DMin Brown is the regional chair for our Imperial and San Diego and Imperial Valley region. She's waffles on the weekends, oatmeal during the week.
Love it, love it, love it. Thank you. Anybody else before I continue on?
Then we also have Lena Heckbert, career counselor, Cuyamaca, coffee always, waffles if someone else is cooking. Yes, I like that.
I like that if somebody else is cooking, absolutely. I don't know about you, but waffles seem to never, when I make them, I can never make them clean. I mean, what I mean by it's always a mess. I don't care what equipment you're using, it's always messy. So definitely somebody else making the waffles. I like that. Anybody else before I continue on?
And then it looks like we've got one more, Gabriella Martin, school counselor, and fruit smoothie. Oh, and then also Jessica from San Diego College of Continuing Education, CalWorks counselor. She says, donuts, always donuts. My girl.
I love it. So thinking of the reason why I asked that question really is self-check-in to give us some humor and to just humanize the space that we're in today. And I appreciate that. And thinking about your choice of breakfast and the fact that you had choices, it creates the opportunity for you to own your breakfast experience. So think about our students that step onto our campus and they're presented with choices. So do these choices create opportunities to transform their educational experience? It's just something to think about. There are so many challenges that our current students and prospective students will be facing prior to the pandemic and most definitely post-pandemic. And I don't want to say post-pandemic because we're still in it. So let me correct myself, the pandemic. With those challenges, they're facing extreme economic insecurity, some of them, to increasing mental health concerns. And these are not going away by or being resolved by a vaccine. This reflects their challenges that they face. This really reflects a challenge to college access and impacts their opportunities. And that pipeline, the pipeline really to their prosperity, right, and their growth. And if that is impacting their prosperity, collectively, we are human beings, that impacts ours that are in this space right now, if our students are having those challenges. And specifically with low income students. But you know who is a critical piece in that, in helping those students? That's counselors. Counselors are knowledgeable. Yes, we do know that. But really the most important piece of that to me is that counselors have the most useful asset. It's not just the full of knowledge, it's a heart full of love that our students are needing. It's an ear ready to listen. It's a hand willing to guide them as they step onto that campus, not just in the classroom, right? Not just in the classroom, not just in the counselor space. It's all around. Their educational experience is so important. If their educational experience as they're in our institution isn't a successful experience for them, that causes roadblocks. Not to mention what they're already bringing, like I like to call their backpack, because we never know what's in a backpack when we open it up. So I want to just pause really quickly. This is me and Ajené's focus on what we think a superpower of a counselor, but I'd like to hear from the audience on what is a superpower of a counselor besides the knowledge and heart full of love and ear ready to listen and hand willing to guide. I heard there were several counselors in this space today, so I'd like to hear from you. Anyone? Is it in the chat?
So yeah, Tony, in the chat, we have compassion.
Yes. What else?
The gift of providing hope.
Compassion, hope, love, ear ready to listen, and a hand willing to guide.
Empathy, direction, active listening.
Correct. Empathy, direct listening. Thank you for that. Those
and
are
then
critical.
Advocacy, Tony, which I think is a really important one.
Advocacy is extremely important. And advocacy is very important in terms of if Tony, the student, and I am a student of color, I'm identifying as that. If I feel I don't have that advocacy, I don't feel like I belong on that campus, in the classroom. I feel isolated and I feel like an outsider. So absolutely, those are your superpowers. So remember that your superpower isn't really necessarily the knowledge, right? That we just heard. The knowledge is important. It's that human piece. It's that empathy. It's that love. It's that hope. That's that compassion. That's an advocacy. And although system change is critical for creating equitable student outcomes, students need individualized counseling and advising. And as much as there's so many students per counselor, and that is tough, I will say that, that is challenging for counselors. It's challenging for faculty, but it is crucial because there are cultural differences that these students bring that is influenced by the culture group. And so there's behaviors that are influenced. And so counselors, in many cases, may be being fair and being culturally sensitive when they treat those students. But nevertheless, part of that practice perpetuates inequities because all students are not the same. For instance, Asian male students compared to other students have a different way of looking at process and schedule, school and process than perhaps maybe a Black male student. And that's why we're here today, to really zone in on the fact that we should be looking at, our lens should be unique. It should expand. Because those male students of color see things uniquely through which they see, which if they see it a certain way and we don't understand that, that could hinder the outcome of their educational experience. So let's zone in on the Black male community. Who are they? Who are the students that identify as Black males? They're more than a student. Who else are they? Anyone? In the chat?
We don't have anything in the chat yet.
This is an image of the Ohio State Black Student Association.
So Tony, in the chat, we have fathers, sons.
Thank you.
Brothers.
Thank you. They are more than a student. They are fathers. Thank you. They are brothers.
Future leaders.
Future leaders. Hot dog. Yes, I did say hot dog. That is awesome. Future leaders. And I said that earlier. What else?
They are loved.
They are loved. This image right here is the students from the Black Student Association at Ohio State. Ohio State University has enrolled 61,000 students. Out of the 61,000 students, the students of color is 4,500. Out of the 4,500 students of color, this is the representation of Black male students. The 5.33% is the percentage of Black male students at Ohio State. I wanted to show this because I wanted to set up the context of we're doing great work, but we have to continue to do that great work. We have to expand the work that we're doing. We have to think about outside of the box, what's working.
Now, Tony, we're still seeing your slide. Are you projecting a different image?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No. Now you can see the Black students of Ohio State Black Student Association. Thank you for asking that. So going back to who are they? That question. And that was the enrollment in 2018. I want to look at the data for California community colleges. This is 2019, 2020. I don't think this will be a surprise. But the fact that we had 2019, there's 2.1 million students enrolled in our 116 community colleges. Out of that, 115,000 Black students. And I'm going to say this again, 115,000 Black students out of the 2.1 million. Where are the males? Where are our Black males? I'm going to go back. I'm sorry. Go back to the previous slide. I apologize for that, because I wanted to give you some data. I'll tell you about the data instead. Does anybody know what is our population in California, resident-wise? There's 40 million people as of the 2020 census. Out of the 40 million 2020 census, 37% roughly is Hispanic. We think about demographics. 36% is white. 6% is Black. I think Asian, there is 7%, 1% Native American. But again, this is the 2020 census, and there's many, many reasons anyone knows that there is a population that's hard to count. But with that being said, of the 40 million people and 6% is Black, that's 2.4 million. 2.4 million Black residents. And the median age of our residents is 32, right? The median age is 32 years old, which is community college age, right? Median community college age. So going back to that number of 115 Black students enrolled in our 116 community colleges, and there's 2.4 million Blacks in California. The question is, again, where are they going? How are we engaging the students? Who are enrolled? What retention and approaches are we using? And I'm not disaggregating the gender in terms of female and male. That's just overall numbers. So I really want to stop sharing and share with you the San Diego Imperial County student success metrics. Or I could just ask, does anybody know the number of how many enrolled students in 2019, 2020? Come on, you guys, this is San Diego Imperial counties. How many students were enrolled in 2019, 2020, Black students? And I'm sure, give or take the numbers, we could get down, but I'll tell you, I know you're anticipating this, but in 2019 student metrics, well, let's see. Out of the 7,160 students, Black students, enrolled in San Diego Imperial Community College, in one of the colleges, enrolled in a course, it's 7,160. 37% of that 7,160 enrolled at the same college. 46% of that 7,160 enrolled at different community colleges within San Diego Imperial County region. So then I'm going to go back again to the 115,000 1,000 Black students enrolled. And San Diego has over 150,000 students enrolled in the 10 community colleges, and 7,160 are Black students. So our students, those Black male students, yes, you're right, you mentioned they are a brother, they're an uncle, but they're a caregiver, they're a parent, they could be the breadwinner, they could be the head of household, community member. They're dealing with labels, they're dealing with stereotypes, they're dealing with biases, racism, dealing with their own fears. They may be religious, spiritual. Some may have a past, some may be rising scholars. Some may fit all of those that I just mentioned. But the point is, where are they going? And how are we engaging those students who are enrolled? And what is the retention? I know that I put a poll in the Whova app, and the poll said, like, do you reach out to your, Molly, could you read that, please? I'm sorry, give me the poll results of that.
Yes, let me see. So, does your, which question?
I'll read one of them. Does your
Okay.
campus seek Black male student voices for practices, policies, and curriculum?
So 53%, 16 people answered yes, and then 47%, 14 people answered no.
So it'll be interesting after we look at the video to hear from those who are asking that question of the 7,000 students that are enrolled in San Diego Imperial County region. What are you doing in terms of the practices and policies and curriculum and your approach? And you're going to hear some of that from the students that are going to be on this post recording. And the other question was, does your counseling division seek out Black male student success stories to share?
And that was split right down the middle. Yes,
That was
and
at
no,
50%. 50% said yes and 50% said no. I also want to add that at the very beginning that many of these Black male students have already gone through so much. Some of them have been incorrectly signed in special education in elementary. 3 to 8 Black males are assigned incorrectly to special ed. So they also have that in their backpack when they're coming into our institution, our campuses, high school and community college. Are we ready to see the video of Michael, Gabriel, John, and Yasin?
So this was really an experience for me as the lead with these group of young men. We came from the perspective of wisdom lives within, meaning we gave them an idea of what we wanted, but we wanted them to construct their own meaning, knowing that it would be transformational for them as they worked together over the weeks before we actually did this live presentation. And after 2 weeks, they really didn't need me anymore. I just sat back and listened to their dialogue with each other as they really struggled and worked with how they were going to respond to the questions that they developed themselves. And I'm going to be honest with you, afterwards, all the young men told me that they hadn't thought of this in the depth that they did when they were together. And they hoped that it would make an impact on those that listened. So I hope that you take what I just said as you're about to see what these young men are about to say. It's really fascinating. All right, Tony.
Give me a quick second. Everyone, I'm going to transition to the video. So I'm going to stop the slideshow and oh, I see lots in the chat now that I thumbs up. Can everyone see this? The video? All right, we shall begin.
From and thank you for being here. My name is Gabriel Trent and I'm 24 years old. I'm a major in chemical engineering and I'm a full-time student. Do not currently work and this is my second year as a college student.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Michael Cummings. I'm 29. I'm a pre-nursing student. I am going to school part-time at the moment and I work full-time and I've been a student for 2.5 years now.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Yassine Abdel Fattah. I'm 18 years old, and I'm a business major. I'm a full-time student, and I work part-time, and I've been a student for 2 semesters now.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Brannon. I'm a 21-year-old music major from Riverside City College. I also work part-time teaching students, and I've been a student for 4 years now.
So first, we would like to thank you all for joining us today. We greatly appreciate your time, and we appreciate this wonderful opportunity to speak freely and thankful about our individual and shared experiences as young Black male students in the community college system. With that, I would like to open the floor and ask you fellas, the main reason why we're here, what has your community college experience been like?
I'll go ahead and get started with that one. So my college experience so far has been relatively good. It started off a little bit rocky because when I first showed up to college, I kind of had no idea and no plan what I wanted to do or knew how to do what I wanted to do. I knew coming into college that I wanted to be a music major, and I knew that eventually later in life I would want to go to school to be a pilot. But my plan in the beginning had no idea how to get from point A to point B. It took being reached out to by a promotion. It took being reached out to by the Umoja program only a year after I started college that I was finally able to find some guidance and find some partnership that I was able to learn what I needed to do in order to succeed in college, what my path should have been, and who I should talk to and how I should talk to them. So it took, and if it wasn't for the Umoja program, I don't think I'd be on the path that I am now. However, I can say that now I'm on a good path, I always like to make an example of, I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than me, and this is his first year in college. And he always talks about how he had me as a guide, and he's so happy that he had me to kind of help him learn what his plan and what his path should be coming into college. As a junior in high school, he was already asking me what he should do, how he should do that, what programs he should get involved in, what teachers he should take, and what classes he needed to take to get in and be able to get out within an efficient time period. Me personally, I had nobody, so it took me a little bit longer than it'll take him, but I feel like I'm on the right path now, more so than I was 4 years ago.
Okay, and similar to John's experience, I'm a first generation student and parents, even grandparents didn't go to college. So upon entering campus for my first semester, I didn't know where to go and I had no guidance. And I started off as a music major because I play piano and Then I went to business, and I was like, I wanted to do nutrition. And eventually I got integrated into the Ujima program, where they told me about engineering, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to know more about it. And my previous experience was I was a combat engineer in the US Army. And so I had already had engineering experience, and I knew a little bit about like how structural systems worked. I was like, okay, let me do some engineering. So that's been my particular experience. And I'd also like to mention that there wasn't really anybody that had any STEM experience in the Ujima program, which is no fault of their own, but there's a severe underrepresentation of Black people that do STEM in general.
Yeah, most definitely agree with you. So my experience compared to your guys is quite different. You know, I'm a freshman. I just started college, unlike everybody else in this panel. So I came into college through virtual learning. You know, coming from high school to college and virtual learning in a virtual learning environment, it's not the best transition. It wasn't the easiest transition, but you know, I had to make it through. Thankfully, I had the help of Umoja counselors and the Umoja teachers, and just the Umoja team in general. You know, they helped me get to where I wanted to be. They helped me put me on the right track. But you know, it was still a rush. It was still a rough start. So Michael, you know, you're the eldest out of this panel. I'm pretty sure you have the most experience. So do you want to go ahead and chime in on that?
Yeah, of course. So yes, I am a bit older than everyone, so I have been doing this a little bit longer. When I first initially went to community college back in 2009, 2010, it did not go well. I did not have guidance. I had no inspiration. I didn't have the faculty or staff or the knowledge on how to succeed in community college. So I was completely lost, didn't know what I was doing, and ultimately that caused me to fail out initially the first time around. But the second time around, which has been in the past 2.5 years, have been really, really great because I've met amazing people through the Umoja program. I've met counselors and teachers who are willing to help and guide me down the right path. One of my biggest challenges, though, is that a lot of them don't know too much about HBCUs, which is a school that I want to go to. HBCU is a historically Black college or university. And even though our school system and counselors and teachers are very knowledgeable in the UC system and that kind of stuff, they don't know too much about how to align me with what the requirements are to transfer to a HBCU. So I think that's been one of my biggest challenges, and I think it needs to be more implemented, and more teachers and counselors need to have knowledge on that. With that, what has your guys' biggest challenge been so far?
So my biggest challenge is starting online has been readjusting my schedule to fit for the class itself. So I'll give an example. I took Spanish 1 last semester, and the time was like 5:30 to 9 p.m. And I had things to do, so many things to do. I had to babysit my niece. I had to find time to help my grandparents with yard work. I had to run to the store to find groceries. And what I noticed was I was getting particularly stressed out as a student, having to readjust my schedule every couple of days. There was no sleep schedule. There was always trying to fit things in last moment, a lot of procrastinating, trying to, figure out, hey, what am I doing here? You get stressed out as a student. So that's been my biggest challenge. My second biggest challenge has been navigating through all the endless portals that we have when we're doing all the online stuff. So one class will say, especially if you're taking multiple classes, one class will say, okay, we want you to log into Canvas. Canvas is, if you're not familiar with Canvas, it's an online portal where you do your assignments, your modules, or your labs. But every single one of those takes you to a different place, and eventually that ends up taking up a good portion of your study time. And as we know nowadays with COVID, study time is very important. Time in general is very important. And so when you're taking up 30 to 45 minutes just navigating through portals, that's time that could be allotted for sitting down and typing out assignments.
Yeah, most definitely. So my virtual learning or my challenges in general, they're more specified towards virtual learning because, you know, I started college in a virtual learning environment. So virtual learning in my house is not the easiest thing. You know, I have a household with 4 other siblings, so we're 5 in total on Zoom all the time. We have classes every day, Monday through Friday, and you know it's hard. You know, we're 4 siblings split between, or we're 5 siblings split between 2 rooms. You know, it's rowdy. We don't really have that time, that ability to focus and really tune in onto our work and be in the best environment to succeed. You know, we're 5 people split between 2 desks. It's hard. It's hard out here, you know. It's rowdy and it's loud and there's a lot of distractions everywhere, and it's just not the best environment for learning. And also, I think virtual learning, like, it didn't equip me with the best tools and the best guidance that I feel I would have gotten if we were on campus and it would be in person. But you know, I'm pushing through. I'm doing what I have to do. I'm just getting there. Pushing through all the obstacles, persevering, and I'm getting to where I want to be at. Even though it's going to be harder than I expected, I have to do what I have to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, my biggest challenge, I think the principal trumpeter of the LA Philharmonic, his name is Tom Hooton. He has a saying that says half of the gig is the hang. And one of my biggest challenges, especially more now that we're on an online semester, is I'm not able to cooperate and collaborate with my peers and my students as much as I would like to in order to be able to learn. You know, I personally am a very hands-on learner, so I get a lot of education out of being able to do the thing with other people and have a lot of like minds together at the same spot and working on the same thing. So I learn and I get to watch everybody else's triumphs and learn from their research and learn from my own research and trials and tribulations. As Yassine was saying earlier, I also live in a very small apartment with my family, and my mother is a teacher, a high school teacher. So Monday through Friday, she's already running a Zoom class herself, and we all only have one router. So that, and I also have a little brother, as I was saying earlier, who's also doing Zoom classes. So for me, a lot of the issues that I've encountered have been from simply not having the Wi-Fi, the bandwidth to be able to attend all my classes and be able to be as engaged, because I can't hear the class because I don't have the signal to be able to. And I think for me personally, the last and probably most important challenge that I've encountered is, and this is more so again being in the Zoom semester, is the lack of what I call a productivity space. The space that I have to do work. I don't have, and living in a small apartment, I don't have access to a practice room where I can go practice my instrument, you know, as late as I need to, as loud as I need to, or as long as I need to without disturbing my neighbors and having, you know, law enforcement called to tell me to be quiet, which has happened before. So not having a productivity space like, you know, a practice room or having a classroom for me that some of my, I guess you could say, my more Caucasian counterparts and my peers might have the space to utilize, you know. I know, as we were all saying, a lot of us, we're all seeing that we're having to share our productivity space with a bunch of other people. Whereas I know a lot more affluent students may have entire offices that they can go to in their house. They may have desks in their house that they can go to. A lot of students are finding that they're having to do their homework at the kitchen table and go to classes with their little brothers and sisters and moms and dads walking by, and we're all getting a very in detailed look at how everybody's house may work. And I know there are some teachers who require students to have their cameras on no matter what. So even if you've got, you know, family drama going on behind you, you know, you've got somebody coming in and out of the shower, you always have to keep your camera on, and it can be a little bit embarrassing. And that embarrassment can be a little bit of distraction, which is going to hinder the way you're learning from your teachers as is. So that being said, I want to ask you guys, how does the community college educational system attend to the equity and well-being of our Black male students?
So a great example of that would be, of course, the Umoja and BSU programs that some campuses have, where it gives a safe space for Black students like us and other students to have a safe space to speak openly and freely about their experiences, a place to let their hair down, to not feel alone, because we are outnumbered at most schools. So walking through a campus and feeling alone and not having that person be like, okay, cool, you get it, we understand each other, we have the same experiences and things like that can be very like distracting. It could be hurtful almost, like to where you just feel alone and you don't want to be there. So offering places like that can give that person that drive and that motivation to have a safe space to like feel okay with going to school and being around like-minded individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, I most definitely agree with you, Michael. The Umoja program is an essential program for African American students in community colleges. You know, it provides us with that support system that we need. But at the same time, it's not enough. You know, if it weren't for programs like the Umoja program, students wouldn't necessarily receive much support. You know, the Umoja program was the only program or the only thing that was sent to me and informed to me from Riverside Community College. That's the only, like, I haven't received any other emails reaching out in any types of, you know, support or any types of guidance, you know, directed towards me. It was only just the Umoja program. And I thank the Umoja program for stepping up and doing that and helping us, you know, young African American males and women just succeed by guiding us. But it's not enough. You know, there's a lot of other people or a lot of other students that are going through much worse times especially during these COVID times, and they need more resources than there is available to them. They need more support than there is available to them. They need more guidance than what is available to them. So I think there needs to be a push for all of that for our students on campus, because it's just not enough at the end of the day. Oh, Gabriel, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I find a community college educational system to be a very unique experience for me because I didn't just have Umoja that reached out to me my first semester, but I also had the opportunity to have Veteran Resource Center. And so for me, my personal experience is I suffered from a traumatic brain injury, and that really changed my personality and how I function. Also was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety. And so, you know, these complications, they tend to compile on each other and give you a really hard life to navigate through, especially when it comes to school and the social environment. It's changed during COVID because now social distancing actually helped me. But in the sense of going to school and being there physically, these programs really helped me out. And I'm also like a highly sensitive person, which is like, you know, you go through a lot of experiences, you become a little bit more sensitive to your surroundings, what's going on around you, loud noises, crazy environments. So I think the online experience has been better for me, particularly in that sense, even though it's kind of a backdrop as far as flexibility goes. For some odd reason, because it's online, you would expect it to be a little bit more flexible. But the interaction really helped me out. I think that, you know, we should push for more financial aid, book vouchers, scholarships, merit grants, definitely merit grants. There's a lot of Black students out there working hard. I know there's a huge conversation right now about look, if you work hard and you're really about your work, offer more grants. Offer more grants to students of color, because my personal experience talking to my classmates is not anecdotal evidence. This is real life experience from Black students who suffer from literally having to work extra hours just trying to make ends meet. Put out more merit grants, put out more things where students can work hard and they are rewarded for what they're doing. And that'll definitely help out with in terms of equity in the educational system. And it can't hurt.
Apologies, Gabe.
No, no worries, no worries.
So, most definitely, after hearing what you have to say, what is inequity in your opinion? And how does it apply to our current education system?
Okay, so inequity in our current system, I believe, starts before college. It starts with the textbooks that students have. It starts with not explaining the experience of not just Black students, but various cultures around the world. Chicano students, if you're from India, from China, from Japan, doesn't matter where you're from, we can't just have a very linear way of learning about European culture and then also a falsification of reality about what really happened throughout history and how we are in this position today of inequality. So I think the biggest thing starts with the textbooks. It's starting to rewrite history the way that it was actually played out and showing people that, you know what, there can be more Black people in STEM because Black people contributed towards the elevation of society, of current civilization. And once it starts with feeling first, once we first understand that we know that we can do it, then there will be more representation in these fields that were initially thought that Black people couldn't do. As you know, as slaves, they didn't allow us to use, gain knowledge by reading books. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Frederick Douglass, but he was one of the pave makers in that sense. He went and he searched for knowledge and he got it. And he was able to express that. So I think it starts with textbooks. I think, secondly, it starts with having more professionals in the field. And I'm not sure what goes on behind closed doors as far as the hiring process goes, but the percentage is 2.2% Black professionals in STEM. My personal experience is I have nobody to go to. And
so I'd just like to, if you don't mind sharing or typing in the chat box, what are your impressions of this brief talk that you've heard this afternoon? And I hope you go back and finish it. Feel free to unmute yourself.
It's pretty powerful. I'm going to speak that watching that video that we created, and thank you, Ajené and Michael and Yasin and Gabriel and John, which we will be bringing back this year again. But their topic will be equity among ethnic groups that they'll discuss. But anyway, it was very powerful to watch Ajené learn from them and them teach us. There's so much to unpack in that video. I don't know if anyone saw that why the poll, if you are using the Black students to change practice and policies and curriculum, this is a video to start with, to listen to. I heard lots of stuff, merit grants. I heard people to look like me, not in the STEM. I hear some people. So let's go with this. The students were speaking their truths, and shame on us if we don't listen and acknowledge them. Amen, Camille. I'm going to snap to that. Yes. This is a space for transparency. It really is. I hope you do.
You know,
go ahead.
Tony, one of the things that really moved me, what Yasin said, was that he was embarrassed to have his camera on because of the space, right? And so many of my colleagues continue to push to have or ask their students to have the camera on, where you can see, based on the student's perspective, it's not good for him, right? It causes an internal distraction, an emotional distraction that hurts. So I think we have to be a little careful and think about those situations that our students can be in. And I think that we can learn to engage them through the chat box and using other mediums to know that they're interacting and getting something out of our discussion. Thank you.
Let me unmute myself. Raquel, the PowerPoint has been uploaded. And so there's a link right in the PowerPoint that you can go straight to view the rest of the video. Just to let everyone know that the links are there. Oh, thank you, Janine. I appreciate their honesty and giving ideas to make changes. I think what hit me, because I've looked at it over and over, but this yesterday when I was looking at it, I didn't realize that Michael said something pretty powerful about, because he's ready to transfer. I don't know if anyone knew that, but he's the nursing student, which he's just awesome, breaking the barriers, if you think about it, at Black male, nursing, non-traditional. And he's wanting to go to HBCU. And the counselor is unable. So here he's going to have to navigate and fumble his way through, right, to get to the HBCU that he's trying to get to, without that helping hand, that guidance, that compassion, and that love. When he and some counselor could do that together. It's not about the knowledge, it's about doing it together. Do we want to share the reflection questions? Or we can continue this discussion. I think. Thumbs up if you can see the screen. Thank you. And so the last slide.
Presentators mode though, Tony.
That's okay.
Presenters mode. Okay.
That's all right. There's not much left on. Here's the transforming the Black student male education experience. And I don't know about you, but that's basically what the young men were talking about. What can your counseling division do more of? Because Yasin said that. He mentioned that. The freshman out of the group in the video for Black male students on your campus. He said, Emoja is not enough. It's great, but it's not enough. One of the questions in the poll was, does your campus seek Black male student voices for practice, policy, and curriculum? I think it was, what was it, 60-40? Does your counseling division seek out Black male student success stories to share? 50% said yes out of the 16, 50% said no. How will you use this information to advance your role in transforming Black male students' experiences at your campus? I'd like to hear that. Just a discussion. Oh, Camille, thank you. Anyone, what will you do differently? What will you share? Just sharing this video, sharing this presentation alone, and then maybe having that discussion within your department.
Yeah, Tony, I was going to say, I'm not a counselor, but I think that something that is missed, and not necessarily by counselors, but I think one of the first things that we can do is ask. Right? Just ask the questions. Because I think a lot of this information that was shared in the video, some people probably were not even aware of. So I think just creating an environment where our students can speak freely and we ask the questions that will give us kind of the whole picture.
Well said. And not just, I want to say that not only ask, listening is so important, right? And not just listening to be like, oh, I feel good because I'm going to go there. I feel good. I heard the students and I feel great. But the next step is, what are you going to do with that information? And how is that part of the inclusive conversation that your institution is having in terms of making changes for not just the Black student, as you heard Gabriel talked about, the Chicano student, all of those students of color. And they're all very unique. They have very unique needs. I think we have like a couple more minutes if anybody has Q&A questions. If not, I'm just going to do a quick plug-in for JSPAC's professional learning. We have our virtual training sessions that are December the 6th through the 9th. That's next week. And that focuses on equity and inclusion for humanity, that humanity of women of color, English learners, and teachers of color. And the focus is really on retention, access, and marketing. And the cost of the registration is right there. There's a link that you can register. And really this training session is, I would say, intense. It's unlike most sessions. All 4 days build upon each other. And the attendees will be doing work. February, March, JSPAC is going to be bringing Words Matter. We're going to be focusing on building LGBTQ plus inclusive language, which is extremely important, all of us on this session, because we no longer can just say he, she, male and female. We have to understand what does that language look like. It's a 2-part training on theory, and then practice is 2.5. No cost. Late February, we will be bringing back those young men to discuss equity among ethnic groups. Who better than to ask that than the students themselves? Oftentimes as educators, we determine that, right? We determine what the equity is, but we should be asking those students first, and then aligning with how we think too. And then March 24th is a follow-up from that building LGBTQ. It's actually the LGBTQ students expressing why words matter in the institution and in the classroom. I would have to say thank you so much for sharing the space with us. And I hope that you walk away with just one tool to use today. And as Molly said, this isn't just, it's not just for the counselors. You should be able to use this presentation and just start the conversation. Drive what your strategy plans, drive what the classroom should look like. Drive some of your retention, to look at some of your retention approaches, to look at how you're recruiting. The curriculum, as Gabriel expressed, looking at the curriculum from that aspect. I'm going to stop sharing and just say, hey, I see so many people, but I don't see the faces, but I'm going to imagine that they're all extremely beautiful people.
Yes, thank you guys so much. This was fantastic. I myself learned a lot. So I'm sure that even though people were speaking up, I think they took it all in. So thank you both to our presenters. We appreciate the information, and hopefully you'll see some of our faces at those professional learning events in the future. Dr. Wilcoxson will be our keynote for tomorrow morning. So we are so excited to see him back, and we hope that you all have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free. You can stay on, you can, chat, Q&A. Also, the documents, like I mentioned, are at the bottom of this breakout screen, also in your Whova app, the far left menu where it says resources. So thank you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.